There is so much that you're going to learn in your first days, weeks, months, years of teaching music. And there's so much that you can learn just in your own classroom. And there's also lots and lots of professional development opportunities that you can take advantage of as an elementary music teacher. Hi, my name's Anne Molesky. I help music teachers find inspiration and community to make active music making experiences in their classrooms. So let's talk a little bit about what these professional development opportunities might look like. The first one might surprise you because it's yourself. So just like we've talked about having a growth mindset in your classroom, and when something doesn't go the way you expect it to, it's not necessarily a mistake and we should take it as a learning opportunity, which is like an annoying teacher thing to say, but is really the truth. So if we can have that growth mindset and we can think about how things went and why they went the way they did, or at least make a hypothesis about why they went the way they did, we can make some changes that can really be beneficial to our students and our teaching overall. The other thing to think about in terms of yourself as your own personal development source is that when you open a book of resources, the way that you see it and the way that it exists in that book is not always necessarily the way it needs to happen in your classroom. So I'm not saying that you should take things from an authentic source and kind of chop them up and make them whatever you want them to be necessarily. But what I am saying is that if you see an ORF arrangement or you see a recorder piece and it needs to be adapted and differentiated for what you feel like you can teach successfully to your students, that is exactly what we should do. If you see game directions or movement directions that don't exactly fit, you can modify things appropriately for your class. And so the more looking through resources, the more reading through blogs, listening to podcasts, that types of thing that you do, the more opportunities you have to gather a vocabulary for what different active music making activities can look like in your classroom. Therefore, you're your own library for how things can be differentiated for your students. Another great professional development resource are these national active music making organizations. So things like the Organization of American Kodály Educators, or the international counterparts if you're outside of the US, or the American Orff Schulwerk Association, or Del Crow's Eurythmics groups, or Gordon Institute for Music Learning, NAFME, Smithsonian World Music Pedagogy, and all these other ones that I'm very likely leaving out. We have all of these great resources right at our fingertips, literally, because we can go online, and so many of these organizations have wonderful resource libraries, online workshops, things that we can do right from our desk. Additionally, many of these organizations have national conferences and chapter workshops and things that you can do for clock hours and professional development. So even if you don't know anything about Kodály, or you don't consider yourself an Orff Schulwerk educator, or Del Crow's Eurythmics isn't exactly what you do in your classroom all the time, it's really worthwhile to go and see what these different approaches and other music teachers are doing in different music teaching situations. Because even though you likely won't copy paste that into your classroom, there's always at least a couple of nuggets that you can take away. And last but certainly not least, when it comes to professional development, don't forget about the wonderful resources that are online. All of those national organizations and local organizations often have websites with resources and workshops and stuff ready for you to go. Another great form of professional development in the year of 2024 that we have at our fingertips, literally, are wonderful online resources. There's wonderful forums and groups that are dedicated to music teaching and elementary music teachers specifically. There's also organizations that house message boards and workshops, as I mentioned before. There's also things like this. There's the Anacoustic Podcast. There's Teaching Music Tomorrow. There's the Sequencing Solution and Purposeful Planning and the Anacoustic Community, all that you can access at home online. So the days of having to go to an in-person workshop are gone, but don't let that keep you away from those in-person experiences, because community and finding your people is really important.